Hello and welcome, everybody. It is Coach Action Jackson, and I'm here with my man, Dean. Now, Dean just finished the 16-week program, and I had to have him on because he had such incredible results, and his story is so incredible, I just wanted to share it with all of you. So, Dean went through the program, and he lost 1.5 inches off of his waist. He lost 10 pounds, 5.5% body fat, going from 19.5% body fat all the way down to 14. And guess what? He also gained 4 pounds of muscle. Incredible job. Dean, welcome to the program. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks. It's fun to hear those stats out loud, right? That's really cool. Yeah, Dean Zimmerman. I'm just about to turn 41, so this was kind of my Fit for 40 journey, and like you said, just finished it up. Really exciting. Kind of became a family affair for us. Everyone jumping on board, having fun with it, and really enjoyed the 16 weeks.
I love that. So before we get into like where you were and what was the trigger that got you started and everything, I want to pick up on something you just mentioned there, a family affair. So a lot of people get into a journey like this either to be an example for their kids or to be a better leader, a better father, a better mother, a better husband, a better wife, a better partner, a better whoever. But a lot of it has to often do with the people that are surrounding us, not just ourselves. So could you speak a little bit more to just the people in your life, the family, whoever that was part of this journey and kind of what they meant to you and how and what role they played?
Yeah, I have two wonderful daughters and a wife. Ava and Lily are my daughters. They're 9 and 12. And something I always tell them is you never stop learning, you never stop growing, you never stop challenging yourself. And really, one of the next things I wanted to do was see how good a shape I could get. Again, kind of hitting that milestone birthday and showing them that you're never done. So they're kind of at cool ages that they're both getting into sports. They're both getting into more activities, and I just wanted to show them that yeah, if you put effort and time into something, you can achieve great results no matter where you're at in life, no matter how busy you are or what you're doing. Effort in can achieve results at the end. And then as far as my wife, I don't think I could do a program without like this without the partner, right? Someone helping with the meals, with the meal planning, the scheduling. That was key. So can't thank her enough. But uh, I something that's really important to me is you never stop learning, you never stop getting better, and that was really kind of the part of this journey, and part of the reason I signed up. Right, we can get so far on our own, but you need help, you need assistance, you need to raise your hand and say, hey, I think I can get better with help, and that's actually how I got hooked up with you and got this program going. But I say kind of as I get older, my main driver in life for a lot of things is trying to teach my girls lessons through actions, and this definitely falls in line with that.
I love it. That is fantastic. So, just inspiring others, being a leader, being the example. We talk about leading by example in the program all the time, and you are a shining example of that, my friend. And I love what you said about never being too old to learn new things. So, you're 41, and it's not too late. You still have time, and you're making massive improvements. You're improving your education, you're improving yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, all of these things, which is awesome. So, you're right about that. You are never too old. It's never too late until it's too late. So you're a shining example, my friend. So I appreciate that. Now, in terms of like, I guess where you started, what was that like? Take me back to before you got into the program, before all of this amazing weight loss and muscle gain and all the good stuff that you had going on now. Where were you at before you joined the program?
So I think physically I was in a pretty good spot in the sense of I had a workout routine. I was a member of a gym, a member of a boxing club. Really tried to get cardio together, and was trying to eat healthy, um, but wasn't quite getting the results that I felt effort in, results out, and kept trying to do research, kept trying to piece everything together, and just really felt like there was something missing. A lot of people say, hey, as you get older, it gets harder, which is true, right? I can't just go out and say, hey, I'm going to train for a 5K, a half marathon, and next thing I know, lost 10 pounds and feeling great lately. Certainly, I felt it was getting harder, but just really felt there was that missing piece. Really, again, was packing my meals every day, was eating the healthy dinners, was really using the tonal, using exercising, going to my boxing club, and just really was getting to a point of stagnant. And in my head it was like I have to prove to myself that either what I'm hearing is that, hey, you're getting older, it just isn't possible anymore, or don't expect the same results, or that I'm missing something. And I obviously was really hoping I was just missing something. And really, that's what led me to this program, was see if I could find that missing piece to kind of put it all together. And I really think it was a mix of, I was just a little bit off on tying my workouts together, a little bit off on my macros and my meal planning. And it just wasn't all coalescing, and I was missing my results. And so that's where I was beforehand. Again, I think I was doing a lot of things right. Certainly wasn't starting from scratch, but needed that help, that mid race push. And that's what I was looking for this program, and I definitely got it.
Dean, you're absolutely what we would call a good to great story here. So you started in a pretty good spot, but you're putting in a lot of effort and not seeing the results for the effort you're putting in. So with the effort you're putting in, you feel like I should be better than this given all the time and effort, energy, and money I'm putting into this. So you started in a pretty good spot, but now you're in a great spot, which is fantastic. And as my good friend Tony Horton likes to say, aging is only for those people who aren't willing to put in the work to slow it down. I
That's
love
right.
that mindset and that mentality. But how did you, I guess, come to terms with, or what was your mindset like? Because you're 41, you're putting in all this effort, you're in a good spot, but a lot of people will think, well, it's just age, it's just genetics, it's just whatever, and I can't get to the next level. It's not my fault. It's a limiting, something is limiting me. How did you think about that to think, well, maybe I could? Like, how did you believe it might be possible for you to get better? Or were you not sure that it was possible for you to get better, but you just wanted to give it one last try?
Well, I'm a really competitive person by nature, so admitting defeat or saying I can't is just not in my playbook. Or when someone tells me you can't, or hey, it's just because your age, it just doesn't line up in my head, right? Like oh, my wife will joke, one of the best ways to get me to do something is say, hey, you can't do that, and then it's like, well, the heck I can't. Um, so I think that was it. Was just not wanting to accept that I can't get there, um, but also knowing I need help. Right? Is um, I'm in the field of human resources, so through my whole career, I've always, oh, let's go try to find the expert. Let's go try to find the engineer that can make my company better. And I think this is a lot of the same way of, don't be afraid to raise your hand and say, I can do something different, but I need someone to help show me that path. And so again, was I 100% sure that I could get the body fat down, and lose the weight as I get older? No, but I was going to go down swinging, that's for sure. And this program really felt like the avenue of finding a way to do something different.
I love that. That's something that is often not talked about, which is sort of the negative driver to push you to get you to do the goals or get to the next step. Meaning, a lot of people look at the carrot and they say, "Oh, it's the carrot that I'm going for. It's the six pack. It's the trophy. It's whatever." But sometimes hearing the word "you can't do it," or even just somebody doubting you, or whatever it is, can often be a big driver. And we see this with athletes at the highest level all the time. The Tom Brady's, the Kevin Garnett's, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryant's, like LeBron James, like all these top level athletes, they always try to find like somebody doubting them or some reporter who wrote some story about them that they didn't like, and they're like, I'm gonna show them. I can't wait till to stick it to them.
Absolutely.
Somebody's doubting me. I'm going to go. And it's like 99% of people are not doubting Tom Brady, but the one guy who is like, he's going to show him. So oftentimes that can be a huge driver for us because it can get us to drive towards our goals. And I've used that incredibly during my career, whether it was my fitness modeling stuff or what I'm doing now. I feel like there's two things that people need. They need something to run towards, right? But they also need something to run away from. And there was a study that was done with rats where they tied like kind of like a spring to their tail, and they measured how hard the rat would pull. And then they had these rats that were like very hungry, and they would waft in the smell of cheese, and they would see how fast they would run towards the cheese. And as you can imagine, they'd run pretty fast. And then they would waft in the scent of a cat coming behind them. As you can imagine, they'd run pretty fast. But then they did the cheese plus the cat at the same time, and they pulled the hardest to go towards the cheese, more importantly, away from the cat, right? So we need that one thing to run towards and something to run away from. And sometimes that negative visualization can be very powerful, or that one person who doubts us, or the one person who says you can't do it, even sometimes if it's ourselves that says that. So that's fantastic. I love it. And you also said, I understand that coaching is a big part of this, or getting help. And hey, the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, get to the choppa, he said, there's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. So we all need help. I've invested over $100,000 easily in business coaching to get myself to this point. When I first became a personal trainer, I knew how to get myself in shape, but I didn't really know how to coach people. And I certainly didn't know how to start a business. So when I started at my first gym at Diacati in San Francisco, I went to the guy at the front desk and I said, I went to the guy at the front desk and I said, who's the best trainer here? And he said, that guy over there. His name's Ross. I said, okay. And I went over to Ross. I said, hey, I hear you're doing great things. I would love to run a few things by you and just kind of pick your brain on some stuff. I was no ego, no nothing, just like, who's the best here? Let me learn from them and let me find out the things that I don't, so I could kind of shortcut that process and move through things faster, because there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be all kinds of stuff along the way. Learning from somebody else can help you overcome, get around, work through, or anticipate those things much better. So all really good things you mentioned there. Now, along this journey, obviously there are obstacles. What were some of the obstacles that you faced, and how did you overcome those things?
Oh, by far travel. Work travel is the bane of my existence when it comes to planning and I very much took to the planning aspect of this. Every Sunday, get my plan together for the next week. Makes packing your meals easier, makes getting your workout scheduled easier. But then you add the variable of traveling in there and just having that perfectly packed lunch, or having your gym or your tonal just all set up right. That all goes out the window. So that was by far the hardest. And really, you just need to put the next level planning in place. Um, kind of silly, but you might not be able to control your main meals. It might be a work dinner, and you're not 100% sure where you're going to go, but you start getting a rhythm on what snacks meet your macros, what workouts you can do in a hotel. So at the very least, you might not have to be able to be perfect on your planning and perfect on your macros, because again, a little bit out of control where you're going to have, might be at a facility where they bring lunch in for you, and certainly, you're just going to eat what they bring you, but you can still fine tune the things around that, or still plan as much as you can. And instead of 100% planning, maybe it's 80% planning. That's really how I tried to fine tune that. And still, and you helped me with this with one of the weekly messages you sent me is, you know, don't be upset that you did 80% of your plan, because you still did it, right? Like, I was upset that oh my gosh, I ordered a steak at a work dinner because they were paying for it, and I think you said, well, what would you have normally ordered? And so, I probably would have normally ordered the steak, the French fries, the cupcake, the cake, and it's like, so that thinking was still in my brain, and it's actually funny to think about, my worst day now, or man, I think I kind of had a bad cheat day, and you reflect what that is, you line it up with your macros, and it's just really not that bad. So by far, traveling was the hardest, and just the way to get around it was just really think before you travel. What can I pack? How can I plan even just a little bit better? What workout can I get from the regimen of workouts you provide us? Maybe look ahead of time. Is it a real hotel gym, or is it a treadmill with a 5 pound weight and you need to do something different? So just plan a little bit more advanced planning and you can get there. But that was by far the hardest for me, just because some of the control variables got taken out.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And planning is going to be a big part of that. One of my old baseball coaches, he always said he made these t-shirts with this slogan on it, and I'll never forget it. And it's one of the things I talk about a lot to this day, which is the will to win is not nearly as important as the will to prepare to win. And the Navy SEALs, I think, or people in the military have a saying that says something along the lines of, you don't rise to the level of the expectations, you fall to the level of your training. Same idea. So
Hmm.
people think they're going to show up for something, whether it's travel or a workout or whatever it is, and they're just going to figure it out. They're going to execute. They're a quote unquote game time player, and they're going to rise to the moment. And it's like, nope, you're going to fall to the level of your preparation. So I love that you were preparing for that and that you're putting in a little bit of time planning ahead. That can go a really long way. But you also have to embrace imperfection. You have to embrace progress over perfection, which is another slogan that we have in the program. How did you manage that mentally? Because a lot of people, if it's not perfect, they start beating themselves up. They get into this negative spiral, this negative sort of rumination, and it leads to them getting really far off track. And then it goes from steak to brownie, cookie, milkshake, bag of potato chips, mini bar at the hotel, and it just goes out of control. And then a day becomes a weekend, becomes a week, becomes a month. How did you avoid that?
For me, it's accountability. The tracking in this program is was great, where you could put in your measurements. I tried to do it every weekend, and just find that small victory, right? Like, oh, maybe you didn't see anything in the inches this week, or the scale didn't move, but wow, my body fat got a little bit better, or just I love the accountability photos. There were some weeks where nothing moved, but you looked and you're like, no, there's a difference there. So and where you really built some momentum is even some of those weeks where you traveled and maybe you only hit things at 80-90% instead of your 100% goal, you still would see some positive momentum, and then it kind of builds off itself. And for me, that would always just kind of remind myself that okay, even on a great week, if I still did pretty good, you could see progress. And if you had a bad day, you can always start over tomorrow, right? The plan doesn't go away. Just re you know rededicate yourself to it. You're gonna miss a workout. It's gonna happen. Life happens, right? Your work happens, family happens. You're gonna go to a birthday party and have a slice of cake. We're all humans, and I think that was a key part of some of the messaging in your program is it's okay. Just circle back and get back to the core of what you're trying to achieve. So that's the big thing for me is small victories. Keep tracking. Um, Even if you think you have a bad week, still step on the scale, because it might not be as bad as you think, and just keep moving. And this is not something you said the very first phone call. This isn't a 16-week and out program, right? This is supposed to be a behavior shift, lifestyle change. So if you hold yourself so extremely accountable that I'm going to be perfect, that's not sustainable. So I keep reminding myself that perfect's not the goal. You know, making better decisions and life changes is the goal. So small victories, that was really the key.
I love that. There's so many good things to unpack there. So anybody who's listening out there, like, holy cow, rewind that and listen again. So one of the things you mentioned, obviously, embracing imperfection and being a little bit kinder to yourself with your self-talk. So not beating yourself up, not ruminating, but saying, hey, it's okay. What's the lesson I can learn? How do I get back on track? And how do I improve in the future? That's the mentality, being a little bit kinder, because when you start going down that spiral of beating yourself up mentally or negative self-talk or whatever it is, that's going to often be the thing that triggers you to go further off course. And we've seen this with diets where people try to hold themselves to such a perfect standard, and then as soon as they crack or break a little bit, then the negative self-talk goes, and then that causes them to actually overeat more or binge more or snack more and go further off the plan. So I love it, being a little kinder to yourself. We talk about that all the time. Hey, it's okay. We don't make any mistakes. We just learn lessons. That's all. And then we continue to grow. And the second thing you talked about there was the progress principle, which, if you Google this, the progress principle is so important when it comes to overcoming big, huge obstacles or goals or whatever it is that you want to do. So for you, what we did was we measure lots of different things. Why do we track lots of different things? Because we're looking for wins. We're looking for areas of improvement. We're looking for things that we could point to and say, that's a victory. Because seeing those small little victories week after week, day after day, month after month, that's going to be what keeps you in the game. And staying consistent over a long period of time is 100% going to give you better results than if you go 100% for 2 weeks, get upset, don't see any results, off the program for 2 weeks, then back on for 2 weeks. Like, we want consistency. And the more consistent you can be, the better. And the way you stay consistent is with the progress principle. So you track, you look at a lot of different ways, and you ask yourself, hey, if I had to say there was a win here, what would it be? Well, I did go off a little off course, but not as far off course as I normally would have went. That's a huge win. Even that is a big win, needs to be celebrated. And when you do that, it's like, hey, this is okay. It's not so bad. And then you keep going, and then you don't have that big drawdown from getting so far off track. Incredible breakthroughs there. So I love it, Dean. So those are some of the obstacles you've overcome. Now, were there like certain breakthroughs? Were there moments when you're like, holy cow, this can work. I can do this. This is possible for me. And how did that build on momentum for you if it did?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest hurdle for me at first was kind of the fear of meal planning, right? It seems like such a big hurdle, and like, oh man, I just want to go to the cupboard and have a snack because I'm hungry, and so that seemed like it would be really big, but honestly, you set us up with the first kind of, here's what a plan could look like, and at first it's like, just can't you just give me like a whole week or the whole 16 weeks? But it kind of clicked after the first week of, no, I you taught me how to do this. And then obviously the program, you get to add a little bit more, and then eventually a cheat day. And really my aha moment was by phase three, I was very, very close to the lifestyle I had before, right? Just those fine tuning. And it wasn't, my family was eating the same meals as me. It's everyone was just eating healthier. It wasn't that hard to do. It was just that educational piece that I needed. And so it really went from, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, or this is way too hard, to, kind of fun. Like, hey, my daughter Lily wants to have spaghetti and meatballs tonight. Well, I can do that. Let's put it in the macros. Let's backtrack it out. And it really did not end up being a burden to the family at all. So that was kind of an aha moment that you can have this healthy lifestyle. I didn't need a professional chef. I didn't need, to go to the grocery store every day. It really didn't affect life whatsoever once getting that down. So that was probably the biggest breakthrough for me. Like I said, I was always pretty good about going to the gym and knocking it out. I think the type of workouts and getting my mind around that was good, and that helped fine tune that. But by far the biggest thing for me is anyone can meal plan. It's not adding 8 hours of extra work to every day. It's a little bit extra work to do it right, but honestly, it benefited everyone, and really enjoy it now.
Okay, Dean, I want to definitely circle back to the thing with the family and eating with them, because that's a hurdle a lot of people kind of talk about. But I want to point out something you mentioned in terms of like just getting a couple of these pieces together. So if you're out there and you're doing a lot of things right, it's like, okay, just working harder isn't going to necessarily get you there.
Right.
So it is hard work is important. It's an absolute prereq and a requirement, but it's the hard work combined with the strategy. What I like to think about, I love watching these mountaineering documentaries on like climbing Mount Everest or K2 or Annapurna or any of those kinds of things, any of those like 8,000 kilometer peaks. They're so fascinating to me, because what has to happen in order to get to the top of Mount Everest is you need all of these variables. All these variables need to come together, including your team. You need the person on the ground. You need your Sherpas. You need equipment. You need backup equipment. You need to get lucky and not get sick. You need to be in perfect weather conditions. You need all of these things to come together at the exact same time. And also you need not enough crowds, and all these things have to come together, all these variables, in order for you to get to the summit. And that's kind of what happens when you're trying to get to that next level of fitness. It's not just working harder, because you could try to work really hard and climb to the top of Mount Everest, and you're probably going to freeze to death out there. You'll be a popsicle. So you need the hard work, but you need strategy, you need the coaching, and then all of these things need to conspire and get together in order to get you to the top. Same thing. We need training, we need nutrition, we need mindset, we need accountability. We need all of these things together. And when we get that combination, what we call the 4 pillars of six-pack success, boom, it's like an explosion. And that's what gets the next level results. And when you get them together, you can get the results even faster oftentimes than you think. But let's circle back to the family thing, because a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be eating chicken and broccoli, and my family's going to be eating all this fun stuff or other things, and I don't know how I'm going to balance me eating my chicken and broccoli every day and them eating pizza or pasta or whatever it is. So how did you balance this with the family from a food or dietary perspective?
Yeah, I'd say the first couple phases were maybe a little bit more difficult, right? Because you're trying to zero in, and it's a little bit less calories. But honestly, once hit, phase two, three, four, it was, I want my kids to eat healthy anyway, right? Don't want to have them drinking the sodas, eating the pizza at McDonald's every night, and I'm eating healthy. So um, that, it was helping achieve a goal anyway. And honestly, so a huge milestone moment for me is it was when I could actually factor in a healthy pizza into my macros, right? Obviously not a whole, but you could get a slice in there, and those moments. But um, honestly, when I looked and talked to my girls and my wife, and like, hey, what kind of meals do you want? Or um, what sounds good, almost all the time you could just factor that into your dinners, and then that can be your leftover for lunch the next day, and just factor it in. It's really not hard whatsoever, especially as you progress through the program. You're looking at healthy proteins, healthy carbs, but you really, you want meatloaf, you want spaghetti and meatballs, you want a hamburger, you want chicken. A lot of times the core of the meal is already healthy. You're just going to have add-ons like a sweet potato instead of a French fry. So it's really just small, healthier decision making. Even when we go out to a restaurant now, it kind of is neat to have the girls ask the question like, "Hey, is this the healthier option or is this?" And it's becoming part of their lifestyle now too. And once they get rolling, and you're having good meals at home, and you're having family time together, you're eating together, it wasn't much of a hurdle whatsoever. It kind of became a fun thing that we did together of hey, girls, what do you want for dinner next week? Hey, why don't you help me make the plan? And um, again, it's not that restrictive of a diet. That would be the key I would tell people, is especially when you get to the later phases. Do you have to plan? Absolutely. But do you have to eat chicken and broccoli every day? No, you don't.
Love that. That's fantastic. And you're right. In the first like phase, two phases, it's a little bit more difficult, but then we loosen the reins, because what we do is if you're joining the program, it's often because you're way over here and people want balance. But in order to go and get balanced, you can't, it's kind of like a teeter-totter. You can't just go to the center. You need to go all the way to the other end and then kind of counterbalance. And now you can settle yourself in a nice balanced situation. So it goes a little bit over to this direction and then we kind of settle here. Now, in terms of like flexibility, we have to bake flexibility in, because 95% of all diets fail. And the reason they fail is because people try to go too extreme. They go with an unrealistic plan and they try to do one thing for a diet, and it's going to be not the way they want to eat for the rest of their life. So they do keto, they do paleo, carnivore, they do HCG, isogenics, they do Nutrisystems or whatever it is. They do these kinds of crazy diets. And then they're like, as soon as I get to my goal, then I start eating normal again. And it's like, nope, that's not going to work. Because then as soon as you get to your goal and you start eating quote unquote normal again, you gain all of the weight back. So we need to find a flexible approach. It's not restrictive, that allows you to eat to get to the goal and then also maintain the goal. So how we get there is how we maintain it. And of course, it's slightly easier to maintain than it is to get there, but we need a flexible strategy. So for me, I eat pizza once a week, absolutely. And I'm not eating 12 slices, but I do eat pizza once a week. I eat a
Yep.
dessert every single day. One of our clients who went through the program, John Wickman, he had a glass of wine every day with dinner. Like, you have to pick and choose those things that you really want and then work those into your diet so that you don't feel restricted. And then you don't need to binge. You don't need to go on a crazy cheat day or something else, because any day of the week you can have whatever you want, basically. So I love
Yep.
that. That's fantastic. And the other thing you're doing, Dean, you're leading by example, but you're creating generational health. So habits with kids are typically caught, they're not taught, meaning you could tell your kid to do one thing, but unless you're doing that thing, they're probably not going to follow. So I love that you're showing them, you're teaching them, you're giving them the education and the skills and the example that they need in order to have these things. And then they're going to have a healthy and fit lifestyle, and they're going to value these things. And then they're going to teach it to their kids, and so on and so forth. And if you think about it, if we want to fight this, heart disease and all these health issues that we're having in this country and in the world, frankly, it's got to start with at the individual. It's got to start with me. It's got to start with you. It's got to start with us setting the example and then teaching that to the people around us and showing that to our kids. And then they're going to do it with their kids and so on and so forth. So Dean, I just want to acknowledge you and say thank you, my friend. Thank you for setting the example, for being an inspiration. Thank you for investing in yourself, for trusting me, for going through the program, for putting in all of the hard work and the effort. It's been such an honor and a privilege to work with you. I'm so thankful for you joining us today. And I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just want to make sure that I acknowledge you for all the hard work. And just to reiterate the stats again, lost 1.5 inches off your waist, 10 pounds, 5.5% body fat lost, and added 4 pounds of muscle. Incredible transformation, Dean. Really amazing job. I'm so proud of you. Any last words? Anything else that you want to leave us with before we wrap up here?
Oh, just thank you. Anyone that is interested in this program, I highly recommend it. You do got to come in committed. I think that's the key, right? Is you're going to offer all the help in the world, all the advice in the world, but they have to bring the enthusiasm and the commitment as well. And if someone is looking for that help and looking for those key ingredients to get to the finish line, that this program offers that, and you're going to get out what you put in. And I thank you for that. That was a really cool experience, and I've enjoyed it, and going to keep on with all the lessons you taught me, and hopefully keep finding success. So thank you.
Absolutely, Dean. I know this is just the start of your journey, and you're going to keep going from here, because it's not a 16-week program. It's a transformation. It's a lifestyle. And you've shown that you can do it. You've got the skills now. You've got the resources. You've built the habits. You got the mindset. And now you're really do have the level of accountability to hold yourself responsible. So we've raised your ceiling, my friend, but you've also raised your floor. And I know it's going to be straight to the moon from you from here. So keep up the good work, my friend. Thanks again for joining us, for sharing your story. It's been an inspiration. It's been a privilege and an honor, Dean. Thank you so much.